It's our great pleasure to welcome to today's online trend summit Simon Browning, founder of Fudami. Simon, it's a great pleasure to have you join us today for this online trend summit. We've seen a monumental rise, and you will have seen too, of on-demand and direct-to-consumer in food and drink. And I'm certain that so many of our audience today will have taken recent steps either into direct-to-consumer or will be actively considering a move into this space. So let's talk about the growth opportunities, the enhanced relevance of delivery and direct-to-consumer in this moment in time, and some examples I'm sure that you've seen of the transformational impacts on FMCG and grocery brands that on-demand and direct-to-consumer can have. So welcome, Simon. Really good to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, no, absolutely great pleasure to be here and be able to talk to you about on-demand delivery, a great passion of mine, something that we've been working in for probably six years. I was at the start when delivery first started. I'm also responsible for all the on-demand delivery channels for Krispy Kreme. And so we were there with William Shu when there was only 8 people around a table. So back in the early days. And of course, you're quite right. Delivery has been seeing an incredible rise anyway. I mean, even pre-COVID, delivery channels, the players in the market have all been seeing incredible growth, not just in the UK, but globally. And then COVID came around, and then, it seems an awful long time ago, doesn't it? But, when the stores first shut in the UK, delivery was really only channel where, you could get your product to your customers. So, then it was, I guess, you'll have seen on both sides a scrabble to either scale up if you're on-demand delivery, or you kind of the future of 5 or 10 years away was on your doorstep. And the customer, the customers that were previously probably a bit reticent or just weren't maybe interested in doing on-demand delivery, suddenly it was it's a priceless product. Even to get a delivery slot on grocery became something that people were not prepared to pay for before COVID, and then all of a sudden, I'm sure you could have exchanged delivery slots on the black market if that was
absolutely. It was delivery slots gave you bragging rights just a few months ago. I mean, shall we start with a brief overview of the market, as we've got viewers that are joining us today with all kinds of different experiences and in different places. So is it worth just giving an overview of the market as you see it?
Yeah, definitely. So the market, as I would describe it, is kind of split into on-demand delivery and then scheduled delivery. So there is a massive growth also in next day delivery. In your on-demand is your kind of Crave Now product. So that's your platforms, your third-party platforms such as Deliveroo and Uber Eats and Just Eat. They will be the main players. And these are all aggregators that have wheels now, so they will deliver that food on your behalf. Obviously, Just Eat, where they started, they were a major aggregator of orders, and then the business itself would then deliver the product to the customer. Where all the growth has become as being in the whole delivered aggregator market. So that's what we call a third-party provider, is an order aggregator who also delivers. They charge you a commission for the privilege of doing that. But like I say to every customer, every client, delivery is not free. Depending on wherever you look for it, nobody's going to deliver your product for you for free. So somebody's got to pay for it, and that's kind of nuanced across it. And then you have you have your next day delivery service. So you see a rise in meal kits and more kind of occasion based. So where restaurants have shut and they've pivoted to be able to now you can cook a pizza at home that you would have had cooked for you in a restaurant, but it still gives you an experience, right? So I see both of those channels still delivering experiences. And then the grocery, like we just alluded to, I think right at the start, is whether it's lockdown or not, it's part convenience and part necessity. And it's definitely here to stay. So that side of the market as well.
So I guess there's, and you've started to allude to those as in your kind of introduction there. There's obviously pros and there's cons. So is it worth just sort of building those out a little bit for the benefit of the audience? What are the, when considering these, this particular space, getting direct to consumer, what are the pros and cons?
Definitely, and I don't think there's one blanket answer that you could say you should do this, because it is very nuanced. But broadly, there are obviously pros and cons for doing both. Of having, if you're talking about the third-party delivery and on demand, you can go through an aggregator, or you can sell it direct to the customer yourself and have your own wheels. So if we talk about a delivery aggregator who delivers, like Deliveroo or Uber Eats, for example, they're going to charge you commission. So the way that happens is that you'll put your menu up on that platform. That's the price is presented to the customer. You know, let's just talk general commission here so that I don't give anything away that's, of course. So, you know, if you're an independent operator and you started on one of these platforms, you're going to expect to pay about 35%. Because depending on brand size and basket mix, et cetera, you negotiate different rates. But let's say you on average, you're going to give away 35% of that. Now, and that can be quite shocking to some businesses, but it's the way that you financially model that. Obviously, the pros of those businesses, if they've got huge databases of customer, you know, there's millions of transactions going through on these platforms every day. So there is a marketplace there. That what you're giving with your product there is access to customers on that platform. If you're not on that platform, you will lose sales, because these guys have got deep marketing pockets. You know, they're on our televisions, they're on our radio, they're in your inbox. So you know, they have to be considered. You know, you have to consider them as part of your strategy. What the major con is, and what everybody, you know, as well as the price, but the price isn't so much for me, because if you have a £12 basket and a 30% commission, they're only charging you £4 to deliver that food. So there is a price to delivery. So if you then go to your own delivery, it's still going to cost you money. So anything down at that sort of basket size to compete with those third parties, you're going to have to subsidize delivery, because you won't get it that cheap. But what you do get then is customer data. And so, you know, what everybody's searching for is a very efficient model, and the marketplace and the extent of customers that everybody can make a profit in. And that's a difficult space, because you know, the delivery part, to own your own delivery is difficult. It's not an easy thing to do, but the long-term win of that, of gaining customer data, is definitely important to. Well, I don't know a brand that's not important to, but it's just balancing off the commercials with the need for customer data.
And I assume they bring a loyalty with them as well, those platforms as well. There's you know, we're all loyal, perhaps to a lesser or greater degree. Would you say that is the same for the platforms as well?
I think that's starting to change. I think it's still weighted towards loyalty. So if you do have a brand affinity with one of those platforms, then in the early days they would claim that you're very loyal. But I think because of the competition in the marketplace and the offers that they drive and the different marketing now, you're probably less sticky on the platform. You might switch between Uber and Deliveroo and Just Eat depending on where the offer is. Customers always work it out, don't they? You know, and they're getting savvier all the time. And promotions can work on these platforms because it gives you visibility. So, you know, I'm not against doing promotions, because it drives new customers to your brand.
When we're starting to think, particularly in this era that we're in, and I suppose I talk about this era as obviously initially starting with lockdown, then the broader COVID era, and also, you know, with, you know, vaccine on the horizon. What is the relevance of delivery and direct to consumer, and what kind of changes have you seen in that space in the recent past?
Well, I think the major thing to say is that you just don't believe it's a moment in time. I mean, COVID's more an acceleration than it is. We are just trading in COVID times. And then when COVID's over, we're all going to somehow, you know, return to the way, you know, our shopping habits of before. And my mum's 83, God bless her. She online shops now. And that sort of fear factor of, all my money's going to go missing if I buy something is gone. The delivery platforms themselves now have said that they've stretched their target age group from 35, which was their core, another 10 years up to 45, because we've all been forced onto the platforms to use it through necessity. And then we found, hey, actually, it saves me a whole lot of time from getting in the car, going shopping, fighting my way around the stores, paying for parking, which is £5 in most places. In London, I know it's 4 times as much as that. So that's become habit forming. And also, I think people have enjoyed the experience.
Yeah.
I know from people that I talk to that, on-demand delivered food is just much better in just a year, because everybody's had to get better. You can't just deliver food and expect that that's okay. It's got to be an experience at somebody's dining table, and it's brought families together around the dinner table as well. So, my kids will also come and join me if I've bought a Nando's or a Wagamama's, or, but, if we were just getting pizza, maybe they'd have wandered off to their room again. But, that now it's just an experience at home that I think people they've enjoyed, and it's good value for money, like any product. And so it's more an acceleration of the marketplace than it is a moment in time. So everybody needs to consider this multi-channel approach now, and delivery has to be considered.
Yeah, I think for those that are starting to consider that, and I know that I'm sure there will be many within our audience today, it's good to hear that it's not just a moment in time. Instinctively, from our point of view, that's the page that we would be on, but great to hear that from you as well. And some of the terms that the audience might have been familiar with and heard in association with direct to consumer and on demand are things like, dark cloud, grey kitchens, dark kitchen brands. Can you just explain those to us and just kind of bring those to life for us and kind of debunk?
Absolutely. Yeah. So dark kitchens have become, incredibly popular as a way to extend your brand into new reach. So all the delivery aggregators, and even if you employed your own set of wheels, they're only going to go to 2 miles. So if you're on one of those platforms, those delivery drivers, because of in terms of efficiency and volume, and the drivers have to try and do 3 jobs an hour in which to make the whole proposition profitable. It's a 2-mile radius, and you might reach in central London 200,000, 225,000. At max, really 275,000 people in a 2-mile radius. Yeah. And so if you have a restaurant, obviously a bricks and mortar restaurant, which it's been a struggle to say the least. And it was struggling pre-COVID as well with the amount of different operators in the marketplace. A dark kitchen is a space under a railway arches or in a low lease area, but enables you to get to that reach without having to have a shop front. So something like Food Stars or Kitopi or Karma Kitchens or Shared Dining, what they do is they take a big space, they'll create all the kitchens in it. You can have 25, 30 separate kitchens all running from one location. That gives the location an area where all the delivery drivers can turn up to, and then those dark kitchens can then deliver their own brand of food to those customers in that area. Very cheap to set up, very quick to set up, and they are very, very well run food service businesses. And again, they charge a fee. They've got commercial enterprise as well, but of course it's a lot less, huge less capital, less labor, and you can make those models work.
I guess as an operator, somebody renting one of those kitchen spaces, you could also operate multiple brands out of one outlet as well.
Yeah, so that's what we're seeing, in the marketplace that is really coming strong. So, you only have to look at America, where there is a number of these businesses who have created, let's say, 30 dark kitchen brands. Now, I like this model, and I like this model for people with kitchens who, might need a breakfast offer or a lunch offer, or their chefs are operating at 60% capacity. You can bring on another brand. You can be serving one brand out the front, and also make that as delivery, and then using the same kind of base ingredients, you can sell multiple brands on multiple menus. because all the customer sees is the brand on the platform. They don't know or need to know that that's coming out of one kitchen.
Yeah.
And then these operators were creating these 30 brands, and they're very clever in the way that they're doing that, and they've done the negotiation already. They've done the marketing. They'll do the social media. They'll even plot your reach and what competition you have in the market, and then suggest to you that these are the brands that you should have in your kitchen. They work well with your current skill set, and they're in demand in your area, and we think you'll do this much money. And so they're going to be the businesses to watch out for, definitely.
Just that level of insight that you're talking about there, and the level of support, and that all builds confidence as an entrepreneur, doesn't it? And you're ticking the boxes off of the things that you need to be reassured about to make that step into this space, and that's come on hugely over the last few years, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I when talking to these operators, these businesses, and I think generally this year as well, I've spoken to a lot of people that are genuinely looking to help. That love hospitality, like me. I grew up in it. It's all I know. It's we want to do as much as we can to help people. Get the whole industry kind of onto the front foot, and delivery is a positive place to be. We were 600. I'm responsible for Krispy Kreme's delivery, and we were 600% up. Earlier this year, and that's plateaued, but that's still multiple hundreds of percent up on where we were. So if you get it right, there is a market to be had, and it's experiences in restaurants are not going to go away. They will come back, because we're a social bunch, us people. So we still want to search that out, but I think there's still those other occasions that you're going to use delivery for, and I guess you mentioned the direct to consumer piece as well. And I'm talking to more and more brands that are not necessarily food service brands, but they might be FMCG. And with that market, you still got to create an experience, but if you create the demand, you can then own that experience direct to the customer. And we've set up a network of 2,500 dark stores to enable you to do that. So we could reach 100% of on demand within 30 minutes with an experience, if those brands want to, want that direct contact with the customer. And it might be a sampling campaign. It just might be that, you want to test something in that market. But it's quick. I think the whole industry here is just kind of like open to experimentation, and customers like it too. Everybody likes something new, and they're accepting of, hey, it was 90% great, because it was new, and the direct feedback. It is a pretty buzzy place to be, I think, right now.
And drawing, that's incredible reach that you're just referring to then. Calling on the experience that you've had with Krispy Kreme and some of the other operators, what are the kind of key elements that an operator would need to consider to be successful in this space, would you say?
Yeah. So what we say is with the model that we've built, so we built a dark store model, which is similar to a dark kitchen model, but it doesn't need the kitchen equipment. So if you're moving packages, either food packages or drinks packages, then we have a model that allows you to do that for a lot less than you would need for a kitchen. So of course, if you're a kitchen and you're producing fresh food, ingredients and chefs, you need all the kitchen equipment. If it's a finished product, such as Krispy Kreme is, then you can use a dark store with an FSA rating, and use that to gain new reach. So we grew our reach in 12 weeks by 1,050%. We had 4 in December. We had 53 come April.
Wow.
And that just kind of exploded our market and allowed us to get our product to the customer. So as long as the demand's there, it's still down to the brand. You can't just put these things on a platform and expect them to sell. It's that's still the same of opening up a store in the traffic centre and expecting you to be busy. You've got to market it, and you've got to create the demand and tell the customer it's there. But if you do that, and you've then got a successful model, and you trial that in one location, you go, hey, this is working. Let's say we're reaching 150,000 people, and we're making X amount of sales. It's then a mass equation, because you can pick any postcode in the country and do the spend per head of capita reach. and then that just plots out how many stores you need to open, or how many stores you can open profitably. And it's amazing, the correlation is so close. So it's fun because it's kind of part brand testing, but when it works, it's a mass. Okay, well, there you go. There's your roadmap. There's a 60 store roadmap for you to open.
It's a scale up plan, isn't it?
Yeah, you can do that as quickly as you like. You could be talking, 2 to 4 weeks to go from 1 to 60. Now, talk about scaling a brand 5 years ago, 1 to 60. In a matter of weeks. It's just you couldn't do it, could you?
Well, I'm certain that now those watching today will be wanting to make that step to enter the direct to consumer market. What would your advice be?
Yeah, well, I would get, not just for myself, get somebody on board who's been in the market. The proposition's got to be right. So I talked about it being an experience. So if you're in convenience channel and grocery, it's price led, but it is convenience. But you're still not going to pay food service prices from a grocer. So if you are going to go direct to consumer and own your own channel, then what you're delivering needs to be an experience that is going to create some demand in the market, and you're going to be responsible for doing that and creating the social media and creating the conversation with the customer. And then you'll find people like us, and dark kitchens. I have no affiliation with a dark kitchen, who will then enable you to scale depending on what your needs are. But those partners are there to make you, to help you scale, and they really want you to be successful. But still, it comes down to the brand and really understanding what is the proposition you're going to land, and does the customer, is the customer going to engage with that?
Yeah. And it's obviously a really exciting landscape. What are the other options for brands in this particular market that you see?
Yeah. Well, I guess we've got multiple different people watching today. So, if you're an ingredient supplier, then that's the side of the market that is definitely going to grow. So like I said, you have organizations who are creating 30 brands. Now that I know this business, and those 30 brands, they want in 1,000 locations next year. So they are, they want support. They're going to want those ingredients. They're going to want help with menu development, purchasing. So, you don't have to go out there with your own brand. You can be a support. Yeah. If you've got a product, can it be complementary to somebody else's menu? So you might have a dessert that matches somebody's main plate meal. So partner with those folks. There's a lot of people doing a lot of volume in on-demand delivery. And so you don't have to own the whole channel yourself. You can partner up. You can look to be a supplier. And get involved in the market. And I think if you talk to people who are doing well in it, that those are the people that are probably doing well because they've asked for help. And they're getting the support. It's definitely not a one-dimensional market by any means.
It sounds like one of the overarching messages is just consider it as a channel. I mean, and I know in what you do, but also in what we do in some of the conversations, that there are still a lot of businesses that it's not on the radar, whether it be direct participation or even participating in the supply chain to direct to consumer. So it feels still very untapped.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, the whole market will undoubtedly take a dip. But it is a massive market. We're talking, as you know, Charles, it's a multi-billion-pound market. So you don't need a huge percentage of it to have a significant business. No. And on-demand delivery is definitely where the growth is, and it won't stop. So if you get in today with on-demand delivery, the chances are that you'll end up with that restaurant group. Because the restaurant group. And they'll be back on the front foot and expanding their restaurants because, like I say, people still want to go out. So if you can support them now, you might find that you've got double-digit growth next year, or even larger, because they'll take you on, into their wider business. So I would definitely have it on your radar if you're not talking, delivery or next day delivery, I think you're missing out. I don't know too many, kind of food service suppliers who couldn't help, and then out of getting help, have a business themselves out of it.
Yeah. Is it important for those people to consider, just things like product performance and the fact that the supply chain is different with direct to consumer, and it's likely, possible that the product may need some adaptation or engineering in some way? Is that something that you see?
Yeah, I think so. So, if you were doing menu development in a restaurant, you take it out of the kitchen, you put it on the table. So you're taking it out of the kitchen, you're putting it on somebody's table 30 minutes later. So that's the test journey to see if your product holds up. And then how it's received. And 30 minutes, it's actually a point that I was thinking I've noticed in the market. So there's a lot of conversation around the end-to-end times being 30 minutes. They've definitely stretched because the system has been under pressure. Yeah. Especially, again now during lockdown. So at any time, lockdown or rain, or just when a lot of people are ordering, there's just not enough wheels on the street to hit 30-minute time. So sometimes your food is going to take 45 minutes to get to the end customer. So you've got to robustly test, and make sure that the product you think is getting delivered is actually getting delivered by the time it gets to the customer.
I guess for some people watching today, this will already be in the future space, but with in the universe that you operate in, it's obviously very much the norm, and it's happening now and has been happening historically. So from that privileged position, if you look forward within this broad area of on-demand and direct-to-consumer, what does the future look like?
Yeah, well, I made, in obviously preparing for this, I made a few notes, and I thought actually it's going to be very good for the customer, because there's a lot more people on the platform. There's going to be people here who aren't doing it, who are going to want to be doing it tomorrow. So the competition for that customer is only going to hot up, and like most markets, I think it will go two ways. So quality, I think, will always win out. So quality of the product, the value of the product, and there will be some price, which I will try and avoid with any of my clients. But I know that some people obviously play in that space. Discounting does work. It gets you up on the platform, it gets you up on the on the hierarchy, promotions, and so there's going to be that sort of competition in the market. So I think yes, very good for the customer. The market will still grow, and I think there'll be more. I think there'll be more direct channels that own their own logistics as well to the customer.
Okay, that's interesting.
So because I think with the with the thousands and thousands of brands that are going to end up on the third-party aggregator platforms, I think that will encourage some people to go, hey, listen, we're just getting lost here. We need to do our own. And if you're small and independent, you can probably do that better. You either need enormous budgets to compete with delivery, or you need to have very direct conversations with your customers. If you're starting and you're very small today, I'd probably say try and go your own route. If you've got deep pockets, you might go the same. But you look at the KFCs and the McDonald's, and that they're multi-platform because they know that's where the customers are.
Do you think there's a space for perhaps more of an ethical delivery proposition? In some countries around the world, we've started to see this emerge, where it's putting, drivers and riders and rates of pay and sort of, capping, fees and those types of things. We've started to see some conversations around those and some challenger brands in some countries. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I was sent try and learn as much as possible, and I was sent a fleet of quite large electric bicycles. They're launching a fleet of 45, and every brand is they know the importance of the environment, and anything we can do, any business that we work with, I think has got the same aim is, if you can have a not too commercially negative, add on to your business, because that has to be a consideration if you can make it work within your financial model. And these ethical businesses and delivery companies are going to come on board. Then, yeah, for sure, that's going to happen. I mean, there's electric vehicles, and vans will come on board, as well as the kind of cycle network. I think that will always continue to grow, and you see it in packaging as well. There's an awful lot of packaging in the delivery market, but thank God that more and more of that is now biocompostable, fully recyclable. So it's that's quick, because again the customer demands it, which is great. The awareness of that has it's quite close to my heart. I love it. Any of that improvement is great. I will champion that.
No, completely agree. And we see lots around, the headlines grabbed by things like, robotic delivery, automated delivery, drone delivery. Can we expect that to go mainstream?
It depends what time frame. I guess you expect it to go mainstream. It's to me, it's PR at the moment. I could probably fly some donuts across and get some press maybe, but yeah, I don't see it coming anytime soon. There's so much regulation around autonomous vehicles that that has to be sorted out first before you actually see that happening. I know there's tests and there's trials going on, but it would be great to see it happen, but no time soon. I mean. And when I say soon, of course, soon's changed a little bit, hasn't it? But let's say, somebody can call me out on it, but definitely not not within the next 3 years.
Yeah. Okay. And just as we draw to a close, just to invite you to share any kind of last thoughts, really, on this incredibly exciting opportunity that's direct consumer on demand.
Yeah. So I would say one, get started. Even if that's just internally having meetings and having discussions around it, and then you'll find every partner is totally supportive. So whether that's you're going to add your own delivery fleet, or you're going to go through a third-party aggregator, these folks make money when you make money. So they're very supportive in just explaining the market and helping. So yeah, I would definitely say start on the journey, and then depending on where you are in the journey, there's so many other places to learn from. I mean, there's some leading markets across obviously across the world. Some great suppliers out there, lots of information. And if you get it right, but both the customer and the business can win.
You mentioned other markets there. I mean, China's an obvious one. They're almost generations ahead compared to where we are. But any other markets in the world that you'd also look at?
I do watch a lot of what goes on in the US. Yeah, I think it's combining technologies. One of the things that we are just starting to kind of think about now is omnichannel has been mentioned for a long time, but really, truly, most businesses have more been multi-channel than they have been omnichannel. But we can now see that we'll retail in multiple channels and also through multiple partners, and some of those might merge. So you've got to be careful that your proposition in one area doesn't clash with a price and a proposition in another area so much as to make you look silly. And then there's some supporting services around, if you're ordering on an app now, the choices of, do you want it delivered? Do you want to turn your business into a drive-through? There's apps that will allow you to do that now, curbside pickup, contactless click and collect, where the product will just get delivered to your boot as you arrive at the, live at the store. So these are the innovations that I see far ahead of, you mentioned drones and autonomous vehicles. I think that's kind of more the future that I see, and it's just more choice. Every year that I've been in the food service industry, it's always a move towards more convenience. So it's still that same thinking, and where you are in delivery. If you're not in delivery, all the reports we've done and the research we've done is to say, well, that's in your high 70s incremental to your business. So
Yeah.
you're not robbing one channel to just put money into another. It's incremental business.
It's incremental.
So these channels that you can add, not just in delivery but across the kind of customer convenience piece, will all drive revenue. If the proposition is right.
Well, I'm sure that everybody that's watching today is looking for incremental growth. So that feels like a great point on which to close our interview today. And Simon, thank you so much for sharing a plethora of rich insight from your personal experiences into the transformational effect that direct to consumer can have on food and drink businesses. So once again, great pleasure to welcome you as a speaker to our 2020 Trend Summit in this new format for this year. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you, Simon, very much.
Great, absolute pleasure. Thank you, Charles.